such an incredible advocate of the crew members,
Oh, yeah.
and I want to know about how the environment was on the set of Penguin, but tell us a little bit about what you have seen of the state of the industry. Like, how is it out there?
Oh, Jesus, Courtney.
I know. Deep. We're gonna start deep, and then we're gonna make it easy.
I mean, I'm in a position of extraordinary privilege, which is not lost on me. And by privilege, I mean that I'm quote unquote what they call above the line. I've had the opportunity through the last 25 years to work consistently. The occupation of being an actor has a very high percentage of unemployment, of course. There are way too many actors for the amount of jobs in theatre, television and film that are available. I'm also, being an actor and having worked in films in the capacity that I have, I'm protected a lot from a lot of the shit that you're not told about things. Like, somebody could be getting reamed and fired and verbally abused in an office next door to you, and the person that would be committing that, and I'm not trying to be topical, I would have said this 15 years ago, the person that could be being cruel over there would come out to you as an actor and then would be like, how's your day going? Do you have everything you need? You know, so there is that kind of hypocrisy that I'm aware of. Having said all that, I'm also on the ground. I'm also on the set floor with my crew members, the people that I've worked very closely with for 25 years, and have found that to be one of the greatest privileges of all of this, has been to work as closely as I've had the chance to work with extraordinary people. And you know, when you're on location particularly, which the majority of my career has been spent on location, you do become a surrogate family. You know, and you know that it's finite. You know that there'll be a moment where somebody says that's a wrap for the last time and you'll all go home to your lives. But just because it's finite, and just because it's 2 months or 4 months or whatever the time period is, it doesn't mean that the sincerity of the connections that you share while you're committed to the working day aren't really sincere and aren't profoundly affecting. And so, you know, I've worked with crew members who've lost family members. I've worked with crew members who have had babies when we've been shooting. We've had birthday cakes, not just for actors, but for crew members as well, like Nicholas today, and we've sang happy birthday.
Nicholas, where are
you? Nicholas, who made it into the first episode of Penguin by virtue of the theme song 9 to 5. Ladies and gentlemen.
Nicholas was a producer on 9 to 5, and by the way, he's got a documentary that is Oscar eligible.
Let's talk about that for a second. Let's get off my shit and talk about Nicholas's documentary.
Nicholas Eliopoulos, check him out. He is unbelievable. We love you, Nicholas.
Happy birthday, brother.
Happy birthday. And I love that he had to do a take 2. He was like, wait, Colin, hold on. Let me get my phone.
Ever the producer. But look, it's been my great privilege to work with crews and the business now. Look, it's very corporate. It's incredibly corporate now, and it's operated by people at the top of the studio system that might not really care as much for the integrity of film as an art form, the way the majority of people, if not everyone in this room, cares about film. And I don't mean to be holier than thou. I mean, Jesus, I've never once in my life woken up thinking that I go to work to cure cancer. I mean, I know what I do, but I also know how important films were to me as a child, and then as I began to enter the waters of adulthood, how I could, in moments of my life, work out what it meant to be a human being, and be a good human being, be a bad human being who was kind of also good, but understand why he or she was bad. And like it just exposed me to a lot of human behavior. I think films are important, and it's very easy to say, well, you're not curing cancer, and I get that, like I really do. But as a social experiment, and as a kind of a source of understanding the human condition, which, let's face facts, I mean, the world is full of so much division and so much separation and so much agitation, you know, that films are a really important thing that can help ameliorate the divisions that we have in the world. So all that to say, it's really important.
Clap. It's all right.
All that to say is that, you know, you couldn't make Midnight Cowboy now. Studio wouldn't make Midnight Cowboy. They read it, they go, yeah, it's a good piece of writing, but nobody's going to see it.
Right.
You know, you couldn't make Taxi Driver. You wouldn't get 10 million. I guarantee you would not get $10 million.
We have a resident who was in Taxi Driver, by the way.
Do we?
I don't know if he's
Is he with us today?
He was for a minute, but he's not.
He just came to give you a hug. We're just here for the hugs. Right?
But you know, you wouldn't get the chance to do it. You know, you wouldn't.
Right.
You really wouldn't. So they're putting so much money into these big things that, and I love big films. Don't get me wrong. Jesus, I was weaned on Indiana Jones and you know all Spielberg's E.T. was my first memory of seeing a film in the cinema. I love big movies. I love tentpole movies.
Yeah.
But there should be a place for both. I think it's incumbent on the studios to attempt to make films that could be deemed more artistically, you know, inclined. And by artistically inclined, I mean that really get into the psychology and the emotional experience of what we all share, which is our individual and our communal humanity, you know. But look, we're back to work. The strike was terrible, and it was. I remember the night that we were stood down, and we were 3 months into shooting The Penguin, and we had just managed to stay afloat for about 3 weeks. The first 3 weeks of the writers' strikes, the actors had settled, and and yeah, it was the night. And I remember Joey from Props, Joey Dimples, coming up to me and saying, he's got a lovely smile. And Joey
Dimples? That's a fantastic.
He said when he was a kid he was known as Dimples.
Oh, Joey
So
Dimples.
then he became Joey Dimples.
Joey Dimples.
Yeah, Joey Dimples. But Joey coming up to me, I remember the night that we broke, and I was going back to LA, and everyone was going home unemployed all of a sudden, and he said, "What do you think?" This was I think June, and he said, "What do you think? You think August?" And I said, "I don't think so, Joey." I said, I think October." I was fucking too optimistic as well, you know?
Yeah.
But what they did at the top, those scumbags, who by the way pay my fee, my own hypocrisy not lost on me, but what are you gonna do? But those scumbags at the top, whether they said verbatim what was publicly announced, somebody said in a meeting, which was, we'll let them lose their homes. I know that was the sentiment. That was the sentiment. Of course it was.
Way too long.
Of course it was. It was way too long. It was grotesque what happened.
Yeah.
But I will say that after 5 months of unemployment, the crew of The Penguin, the New York crew, came back to work, and not one of them, to a woman and a man, had a chip on their shoulder, had any bitterness. They were so excited to be back at work. They were so excited to be able to provide for their families again. They were so excited to be able to apply themselves to doing something daily that they love to do. Because it's not just a job. You know what I mean? It's something that it is a job, but it's something that you're passionate about. Whether you're in the sound department, whether you're in the production design, whether you're in costume, makeup, you know, it's something that we're all passionate about. So yeah, it was very moving actually when we all came back to work, and to see the same faces that I know had been going through hell and trying to figure out how they're going to fucking remortgage their homes, how are they going to pay for their kids' education the next year. It was terrible. It was a terrible time. Business still isn't back to what it was before, but streaming is cutting into that and all that boring stuff. But look, there'll always be the film business, and there'll always be extraordinary people who are willing to be the life force of that business, which are the crews, and never will be the studios.
And many who have been in the room tonight. All right, now we'll make it fun.
That all got very serious.
Okay, I had a resident who, by the way, was very mad after the first episode because she's like, I thought Colin Farrell was in it. Literally told me that. And I said, you need to watch it again because he is.
We spoke and she told me,
That's a wild transformation.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So, tell me, Oz, he acts through his eyes and you have little gestures and things. Like, how did you, just tell us about the transformation.
Mike Marino is
brilliant.
He's brilliant. He's a makeup artist who specializes in special effects makeup, whether it's wounds or whether it's monster effects, or he is a disciple of, he was an apprentice of Dick Smith and Rick Baker and all these extraordinary makeup artists who came before him. And there's a beautiful kind of tradition within that world of makeup artists, that is kind of a mentorship thing, a really beautiful thing.
Right.
So Mike comes from that school, and he's extraordinary. And Matt Reeves, who directed the Batman film that the Penguin featured in and had like 5 or 6 scenes in that film, Matt Reeves, being as clever as he is, reached out to Mike Marino and said, look, we're thinking of doing the Batman film, the Penguin is going to feature in it, we're going to want to do something, whether it's an elongated nose or something. I've cast Colin Farrell, do you want to have a think about it? I had known Mike from before, it's something else we did. And Marino designed what you're going to see tonight. He designed the whole thing, very little, no input from me. His imagination, I mean, we sent some photographs back and forth and shit, but his imagination mixed with his love of the source material, and all kind of iced off with his ability through 30, 40 years of being a makeup artist. Or 30 years of being a makeup artist, because he started very young, but not young enough that it would be 40 years. 30 years of being a makeup artist resulted in this thing, and I was in the makeup chair for 3 hours every day at the start of every day, and it was cool. I dug it.
You did?
Yeah, I loved it because I loved the makeup crew. I loved the team we had.
Yeah.
We had a Penguin trailer, so
Yeah.
it was just for us. There was 6 people, 6 makeup artists and me. And we'd have donuts and drink coffee, and we'd shoot the shit and bitch about people and play music, and
I love it.
yeah, it was a great time. And then, as I was saying earlier, I'd get to, at a certain point, we'd quieten down organically, and I'd hit the script and get my head in the game for the day's work ahead.
And then did you start chopping it up as Oz in there?
And then by the end, it was weird. I mean, it's such a I experienced it as such a profound thing to have, because we all identify ourselves in greater and lesser degrees with how we look. We all do in life. As I say, greater. Some people really identify the way they look. It's how they are. It's how they want to be perceived. Other people don't really care so much, but there's a little bit of it in there, maybe a bit of wounding, and so that's why they don't care, or it's a part of why they don't care, whatever. But to look in the mirror and to see, looking back at you, nothing that you recognize, nothing at all. Not even my eyes. It was like everything really. Even my eyes kind of went, and so it was a very profound. It was a really profound experience. Like it really felt like almost like a separate entity.
Out of body.
Yeah, it was almost like a separate entity. So it was that 3 hours of makeup in the morning was also a chance to, once the nose went on.
Yeah.
The nose was the hair was the last piece, but once the nose went on, the whole thing changed, and by the time I got out of the chair, I was talking in the voice, and the whole thing, that was it, yeah.
It was funny to watch it and remember that was you. You just lose it. You know it's you just lose it. It was beautiful.
Very.
The accents. I think I read somewhere that you thought it was even easier to speak like Oz when you got the makeup and all the costume on.
Well, there was a certain, I suppose there was a certain tactile remembrance that I wasn't used to as an actor. Like, you wear costumes and your makeup and stuff, but this is a costume. It's just a costume that Colin is wearing. It's Colin's costume for the day, and so whatever costume you're wearing, it's still clothes. You still have a lifetime of knowing what clothes. This was different because I was in this whole bodysuit, which made your body feel a particular way, and then obviously I had all this stuff over my face and head, so it was a weight to it, and it was glued on, and so there was something about how tactile all that was that made, and plus just the accent I was using, but it just made, and I did, it's not like I stayed in character all the time, but I noticed that when I would speak to somebody in the accent I'm speaking to you in, that it felt like it began to feel like a greater agitation and almost a greater dishonesty than if I talked in, do the thing. It was weird that way.
Yeah.
It was kind of it was a testament to the conviction that I was a part of. When I say a part of, like somebody designed the bodysuit, Helen Huang designed the wardrobe.
By the way, Helen, does anyone in this room know Freda Johnson, who runs our volunteer engagement? That's her daughter-in-law. who is the costume designer on the Penguin, and she's brilliant.
Yeah, she was brilliant. So her, and then as I said, there was six or seven makeup artists. So I was part of a collaborative force that really brought it all together. And yeah.
So my daughter's running around. Everyone knows the Penguin has gestures, and you have a beautiful right foot in this film. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. But my daughter wanted to know if
Any of you's got a foot fetish in the audience, that'll be cured tonight.
Or if it's not, they have another problem.
Yeah.
Did that hurt though? She wanted to know, like, did it hurt to always be walking with that knowledge of what that foot was for Oz?
Did it hurt in reality, or where is your daughter?
In reality.
In reality or in imagination? Like
no, like just the limp and everything. She's like, was he really hurt? Was that hurting him to always do that?
Oh, that's a fair question. My hip didn't do the best out of it, you know what I mean? After a while it began to grate. Yeah, I started off the job walking like that in between all day, like from the time I left the makeup trailer to the time I got the makeup off. I committed to the walk just so it would be consistent.
Right.
And then I realized about 4 days in that I wasn't gonna make 6 months.
Yeah.
So it was like cut, and then I was action.
I did a little dance. So when you took that, well, you know what, I want to talk about your cast. This is brilliant casting. You worked with some really great people, Rhenzy and everyone.
Rhenzy and Cristin and Dee Dee.
Cristin's good.
She's amazing in it, yeah.
She's really
Yeah,
good.
she's
You'll
fantastic.
see her in this episode.
She's fantastic.
Tonight. What was the camaraderie and all the vibe with the cast?
It was easy. It was just easy. I mean, I think I was fortunate enough to be with them, and I've kind of been very lucky through the 25 years or whatever I've been working as an actor. But this time in particular, I think we were all very tickled by the fact that we were getting to tell a story that was based in quote unquote Gotham. And that even though he's not in the show, the Batman, he's peripherally part of the psychology of this world,
right,
and the lore and the mythos of this world. And so we were all just kind of a bit giddy about it, like school kids.
Yeah.
So there was no
the timing of it.
Yeah, there was no entitlement.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And you get a bunch of nervous actors who want to do a really good job and want to honor the material and are open with the fact that we all need each other's help, and that essentially no matter how many lines you have, everyone should be kind of a supporting actor. So it was easy. I loved working with Cristin. She was great. I loved working with her. And then the third episode was the most fun I had with her because it turns into a bit of a buddy cop thing with the two of us in the third episode. But yeah, Rhenzy, was it Renzy's first film?
I was gonna say, this is...
I know he's worked, I know he did something, I'm not sure if the thing he did before that had some eyes on it was a streamed thing or if it was a film.
First big project.
Yeah, it was definitely his biggest
Yeah.
opportunity. And he was amazing, Rhenzy. And I think Rhenzy had one of the toughest jobs in the film because Cristin has given a lot of really exciting, really dramatic stuff. I, of course, am given what I'm given. And Rhenzy's stuff was a little more subtle, a little more quiet,
right,
a little more, I hope, relatable, and thereby a little trickier. You know, it wasn't so easy for him to make his mark,
right,
but he's extraordinary.
very
in
subtle,
it.
right?
Yeah,
with his
he's
fear.
wonderful in it and so naturalistic, and yeah, he's kind of the conscience of the piece in my perspective.
I think we could talk
That's
forever.
enough. That's enough.
Nobody
Told
wants to hear him anymore. You
Told
gotta
him.
watch him. You gotta watch him. But thank you
Thanks
all
for coming out, everyone.
Colin Farrell.